Hi everyone and welcome to another SOLIDWORKS Model Mania made in Fusion 360. Today we are going to take up the challenge of Model Mania year 2014. Before we begin, let's inspect the 2D drawing. Let's zoom in and notice at section AA, I am seeing here that we are going to utilize the shell command. And because this is a circular model, let's place our origin here at the center. Heading back to Fusion 360, let's start off by entering sketch mode and creating a circle. I'm going to hit C for circle and let's sketch on our XZ plane. Placing our center point at the origin, left click here. Diameter of this first circle to be 100. Hitting enter. Let me reposition the placement of this dimension. So I'm going to select this, left click and hold, and move this one here. Release. Our latest command is a circle. So with that, I can right click. To enable our marking menu, head up and select Repeat Center Diameter Circle. Let me zoom in and create 3 circles. Left click here, and left click here, and left click. So notice I did not input any dimension for now. Hitting Escape. In our drawing, we have a dashed circle. So let's create another circle. I'm going to hit C, place its center point at the origin, and the diameter of the circle is 48. Hitting enter, and let's reposition or place this dimension over here. Next, I'm going to select this circle and hit X, making this as a dashed or a construction entity. Moving forward, let's add some constraints. I'm going to head up to constraints, selecting coincident, selecting this center point and our circle, hitting escape, selecting the center point of this circle. And notice the center point needs to be aligned vertically with our origin. In addition, notice this center point is currently selected, and to deselect that, I can left click anywhere here on our blank canvas. Heading up to constraints once more, selecting vertical, selecting this center point and our origin. Hitting escape. Let's have the center points of the circle coincident with our construction circle. So I'm going to select this center point, holding control and selecting this circle. With both of them selected, I'm going to right click and select coincident. Coincident constraint still active, selecting this center point and this circle. Hitting escape. Next, I want the diameters of these 3 circles equal. I'm going to head up to constraints, selecting equal, selecting this circle and this circle, and this circle. Hitting escape and hitting D for dimension. Let's define the diameter of the circle to be 26. Hitting enter and hitting escape. Moving forward, let's create the triangle here. And before we do that, let me show you under create. Notice this line command of ours has a hook. In other words, in the line command, we can create a line and an arc. And to do that, let's first hit L for a line. It's simply Notice here, I'm going to place my first point, left click. And next, I'm going to left click once more, but I'm going to hold down my left mouse button. So left click and hold. I'm still holding my left mouse button to create an arc. And now I'm going to release. Head over here, left click and hold to create an arc. Release. Left click and hold to create an arc and connect this to this endpoint and release. Hitting escape. Let's smooth out the transition between our arcs and the lines. So I'm going to head over to our constraints, selecting tangent, selecting this arc and this line, this arc and this line, this line and this arc. Hitting escape. Next, I'm going to create a vertical construction line here. Hitting L for a line, placing our first point on our origin. Double left click to end the chain of lines. Create another line from our origin and a double left click here. Left click on our origin and double left click. Hitting escape. Next, let's turn this 3 lines into a construction line. So I'm going to select them all, holding control, selecting this line and this line. And once more, the shortcut key for construction is simply hitting X on your keyboard. Next, let's dimension or define the angle between these lines, hitting D. Selecting this line and this line, place the angle or the angular dimension here, the value to be 120. Dimension tool still active, selecting this line and this line, place the angular dimension here, key in 120. Hitting escape. Next, let me zoom in and grab our coincident constraint. Let's have the center point of this circle coincident with this line. Same with this circle, selecting its center point and this line. Hitting escape. Moving forward, I'm going to select these 3 arcs, holding control. With this 3 arcs selected, I'm going to right click and make them all equal. Next, I'm going to hit D for dimension and let's dimension this top arc. The value to be 18. Hitting escape. And finally, let's have this arc and this circle concentric with each other. So I'm going to select this arc and the circle, holding control, right click and select concentric. Concentric constraint active. I'm going to select this arc and this circle, this arc and this circle. Our sketch entities turned into black, which means our sketch is fully defined. On our drawing, I am seeing a wall thickness of 3 millimeters. With that in mind, I'm going to hit O, which is the shortcut for offset. Chain selection enabled. I'm going to select this curve, left click, move this slider on the other side and key in -3, hitting enter. Let's repeat offset. I'm going to hit O for offset. Let's offset this circles distance to be 3, hitting enter, right click once more. To access our marking menu, selecting repeat offset, selecting this circle, keying in 3. Repeating offset, selecting this circle, and keying in 3. In addition, we have the option to clean this sketch up by trimming. The downside with the trim is we may lose dimensions and or constraints. So for my personal preference, I'm going to retain this sketch. And from here, we can now select Finish Sketch. Let's now turn this sketch into 3D. I can head over to Create and select Extrude, or simply hit E on my keyboard for Extrude. So prompted to select Profiles. And before we pick out those profiles, I want you to make sure under Select, Window Selection is enabled. So I'm going to left click and hold to create a window selection. Notice our sketch is fully inside our rectangular window selection. I'm going to release. Next, I'm going to pull this arrow to the right. And to be exact, I'm going to key in 15. Operation, New Body, and selecting OK. Let's reuse our sketch 1 and extrude that as well. So I'm going to head over to our browser to whirl this down and turn on the visibility of sketch 1. Next, once more, the shortcut key for extrude is E. Hitting E on my keyboard. Let me head to our view cube and select front to be in front view. Once more, prompted to select profiles. I am going to select this profiles. Target profiles selected. Let me pull this arrow to the left. And for operation, I'm going to change this to New Body. Let's define the distance of this extrusion. I'm going to distance, and I'm going to type in -35 for this direction, and +15. What I would like to show you in this instance is we can perform mathematical operation in this numerical field. Once more, Operation New Body and selecting OK. Keep in mind that we have created 2 new bodies. Moving forward, let's shell out body 1. So I'm going to head up to Modify and select Shell. The faces to be excluded is this face. And for our inside thickness, it will be 3 millimeters. Hitting Enter. Next, I'm going to turn off the visibility of body 2 just to get a clear view. And I'm going to hit E for extrude. We're going to extrude this circular profiles and this profile, pulling this arrow to the right. Let's head over to extent and change this to object, and we want this extrusion to be up to this face. And for the operation, we're going to change this to join. Selecting OK. Let's head back to our bodies folder and turn on the visibility of body 2, turning off the visibility of sketch 1. Next, I'm going to head over to Modify and select Combine. Target body, let's pick out body 1. And for tool bodies, selecting body 2. Operation join, and I'm going to disable new component and keep tools. Selecting OK. Next, let's remove this material to have a hole. So I'm going to select this three faces, holding Control and hitting E for extrude. Let's pull this arrow to the right for extent, changing this to object, and that will be up to this face. Operation cut and selecting OK. So we now have a holes for this model. And finally, let's wrap things up by adding fillets to our sharp corners. Hitting F for fillet, and let's select this edges. Selecting this edge, this edge, this edge. Selecting this edge as well, this edge. Zooming in, selecting this edge, the edges of this cylinders. The value to be 3. Inspecting. I'm going to hold Control to add this edge as well. Looking nice. Heading to home view, leaving the defaults, and finally selecting OK. Congratulations for completing phase 1 of this 2014 Model Mania Challenge. Thank you so much for reaching up to this point in the video. Inviting you to join us in Facebook. It's Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group Philippines. And in LinkedIn, we are Fusion 360 Worldwide Users. Lastly, support us by subscribing to Autodesk Community Philippines as we train more students and educators into the world of Autodesk. Welcome to the phase 2 of this challenge, and let's inspect the 2D drawing. So some of the notable change for phase 2 is the diameter is now 84, and we have this fillet terminated as shown. Let's head back to Fusion 360. Let's now head over to our first sketch. Heading to our timeline, selecting sketch 1, right click and select edit sketch. Let's now modify 100, double left click on this to be 84. Hitting enter and selecting finish sketch. And notice our fillet needs to be updated. Let's head back to our timeline once more and roll back the features. So I'm going to select our timeline marker, left click and hold. After extrude 1, next selecting these buttons, let's move one step forward and inspect. Unsuppressing shell. Same with this extrusion. Unsuppressing combine. And extrude. And this fillet with errors. So I prefer deleting this or suppressing. Moving forward, I would like to split this body into 2. And to do that, I'm going to head over to Modify and select Split Body. The body to split is this only body. Activating splitting tools, and I'm going to select our XZ plane as the splitting tool. Selecting OK. And notice we now have 2 bodies. Let's now focus on creating the fillets. Let's start off by creating a fillet on this circular edge. So with this edge selected, I'm going to hit F for fillet. The radius of this fillet to be 3. Leaving the defaults, selecting OK. Moving forward, let's turn these two bodies into one. So I'm going to head up to Modify, selecting Combine, Target Body. Any of the two will do. This time, let's select Body 3, Tool Bodies to be Body 1, Operation to be Join, disabling New Component, and Keep Tools, selecting OK. Let's inspect our model, and notice here we have a gap. So let's eliminate this gap. And to do that, I'm going to select this face, and this face. Next, I'm going to hit E for Extrude. And under Extent, we're going to change this to Object. And that extrusion will be up to this face. And for the Boolean operation, we're going to change this to Join. Selecting OK. Inspecting. And from here, we can now apply the fillets on the sharp corners, reselecting them all. Selecting this edge, this edge, this edge. Selecting this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edges. Once more, the value to be 3. Let's inspect. We missed this out. Holding Control and adding this. Control left click. Inspecting. Adding this edges at the back as well. Holding Control, selecting this edge. Holding Control, selecting this edges. And this edge, holding Control. Inspecting. Heading back to home view, and congratulations for completing phase 2 of the modeling challenge. And if this fillet is bothering you, simply select that fillet on our timeline, right click, and select delete. Let's now proceed to the simulation phase of this challenge. And in order for us to create a simulation study in Fusion 360, we need to have the file saved in the cloud first. So I'm going to hit Control S or simply select Save. I'm going to name this as 02-sim. Selecting Save. Let's grab the 2D drawing once more and inspect the requirements of the simulation challenge. So notice here we need to fix this cylindrical faces and apply a 10,000 load up. Next, the material is a plain carbon steel, and we need to determine the factor of safety. Let's head back to Fusion 360. Let's head up to the left and change our workspace into simulation. Prompted to select what study we would like to conduct. It's simply static stress. Double clicking on this. And before we can begin selecting a solve, we need to fulfill the requirements for conducting a simulation study. And notice here under solve as well, we have a pre-check with an X mark. So if I click on this, so notice we are seeing some important inputs that are required for us to finally select solve. So I'm going to close this. A good rule of thumb when conducting a static stress simulation study is to begin defining the items from left to right. So we will start out with the materials, constraints, so on and so forth. Let's kick off by defining the materials, selecting study materials, and under same as model, let's select this and scroll down looking for plain carbon steel. So what I'm seeing here is steel carbon. Let's select this, selecting OK. Let's add constraints, selecting constraints, specifically structural constraints. The type to be fixed and enabling the axis for X, Y, and Z. Selecting these two cylindrical faces. Selecting OK. Let's now add loads. Heading up to loads, selecting structural loads. For the type, it will be force. Selecting this cylindrical face. And notice here, we have an arrow pointing up, which means the force is heading up to that direction. For the value of that force, it will be 10,000 newtons. Leaving the defaults and selecting OK. And notice, under pre-check, this is now a green check mark, indicating that we can now finally select solve. Let's now select solve. So we have two options here to conduct the simulation study via the cloud or locally using our own hardware. So I prefer conserving cloud credits. I'm going to select locally and selecting solve. Computing done. So the initial results is the minimum safety factor is 5.23. I'm going to select close, selecting this as well. Let's move over here under our color bar. And once more, our results is satisfactory. If it reaches the blue, being the best, the worst, or failure at this red portion. In addition, under this drop down, we have insights for the stress. I can also move this slider up to have a better understanding of the results. Next one, we have insights for displacement, reaction force, and the strain. Heading back to stress. And let's wrap this up by sharing to you under results tool. I'm going to select animate, but before that, making sure I am in the front view to have a better view. We're under stress. Once more, heading back to animate. And I prefer having a two-way, steps to be 10, speed to be normal. And let's hit play. So this is one of the visualization tools to have insights on the results in a Fusion 360 static stress simulation study. Congratulations for completing Model Mania 2014 made in Fusion 360. And a comment down below which is or which has the greatest safety of factor. Is it the phase 1 or a phase 2 model?